Okay, I think we are going to start. I have to tell you that talking to a camera is not as easy for me as for my children, but I'm sure that we are going to make this work. As I said before, so this is a webinar organized by CCA and Portugal Sothebys, where we want to share some of the features that make Portugal such a cool destination these days. We will also talk about the very promising regimes that we have in Portugal for people that want to move or live in Portugal, and also about the process when you want to buy a home in Portugal. So with me, it's going to be Salian, also from Portugal Sothebys UK, and our partner, Tomás Assis Teixeira from CCA Law. Okay, so what is Portugal most known about? Undoubtedly about the climate. So it's we have more than 250 days of sunshine during the year. That in the Algarve, it's even more than that. It's more than 300 days a year. It's very much about the warm people. I'm sure that for those who have been in Portugal, one of the things that everyone praises, it's really the easygoing attitude of Portuguese people, very laid back, and also their wonderful hospitality. It's also about the food and wine. Portugal nowadays, we have 28 Michelin star restaurants, 12 of them in Lisbon and 6 in the Algarve. And also we are internationally recognized for our wines and olive oils. CNN just wrote recently an article saying that Portugal was one of the best foodie secrets in Europe. And I'm sure that for those who have been around, that you completely share this opinion. It's also very much about the leisure moments that we offer. So obviously that our 850 kilometers of coastline, the amazing beaches, a golf destination. So all of this is being internationally recognized and awarded. But also it's much more than just beaches and golf. It's about the landscapes, all the activities you can have in Portugal, like hiking, mountain biking, you know, just enjoying the culture and the monuments we have across the country and the diversity of landscapes that you can experience when you are in the country. But Portugal is also a very ancient country and a very dynamic economy. So we have one of the oldest borders in Europe, reflecting the influence of cultures over the centuries. We are part of the European Union, one of the fastest growing economies within the European Union, and the 50th big economy in the world. It's also one of the characteristics of Portugal. It's the strong educated workforce we have, that has led to an explosion of startups and companies like Google and Amazon that have some of their tech development centers now in Portugal. And recently also the Web Summit that has been moved to Portugal. So it's not only about history and landscapes, it's also very much about the dynamic that you will experience when you are in Portugal. So due to this, we have a very modern infrastructure in place, one of the best road infrastructures, and also in terms of communication with 5G. So for all of those that also want to work from Portugal and, you know, in this lockdown or this new model of life we all have been experiencing, technology is going to be side by side with you and you don't have any problems. It's also very much about the state-of-the-art health services. Portugal is the 12th, has the 12th best public health service in the world, and also the private sector really excels in terms of the quality of the services we provide. So when you are in Portugal, you are covered both in terms of how you move around and also in terms of all the technology and health services that you might need if you decide to move to Portugal. Portugal, Lisbon and Porto are all today very cosmopolitan cities for all the reasons that I have described before. So nowadays it's also very much about the culture. When you are going to be in Lisbon or Porto, you're going to have continuous exhibitions going on. Lisbon is one of the cities with the highest number of museums in the capital, with from galleries, museums, international music shows. So opera, dance, it's a huge variety of events that Portugal has to offer for who lives in the country. And another very important feature, it's undoubtedly the peaceful place that Portugal is. So it's a really safe place. You will always feel safe when you are going around. And we are just being awarded, actually this is going on for quite some time now. We are the third most peaceful country by the Global Peace Index, and just behind Iceland and New Zealand. So this shows really the kind of life you can enjoy when you are in the country. So today, due to these amazing characteristics, Portugal is one of the leading destinations in terms of travel that has been recognized as not only in Europe, but also worldwide. So I think that for those who decide to enjoy the lifestyle that Portugal has to offer, and also to optimize your wealth, taking advantage of the incentive benefits that Portugal has for non-residents. And this is really a great opportunity for those who think to invest in the country. And also in terms of real estate, the market dynamics make it a very strong investment. Just to give you kind of a very quick overall feeling of how the market is performing. So the Portugal real estate market in Portugal is still one of the most attractive in Europe. It has a high demand. The prices have been going up, but still making it very competitive comparing to other countries and major cities in Europe. And even during the pandemic, so the prices still increased overall. There was a small decrease in Lisbon, but like places like Porto and Algarve, so still a price increase of almost 2 digits. So this also makes it very interesting for people that are thinking about investing in Portugal, and is expected that after the pandemic, this trend will still continue going on, at least in the medium term. So before...
It's time to stop. It's time to look out for each
enjoy
other
this
in
small
the
video
distance.
about Portugal.
Time to stare humanity in the eyes, to take a break for the world. It's time to stop. Time to make a pause so we can play again. To think of everyone and meet no one. To reset, recenter, switch off, to move on. Time to change our little world. To calibrate the path of mankind. It's time to stop. We are meant to connect and we are stronger together. But separated, we are today more united than ever. And for now, our main strength is to be apart. It's time to stop. Nature, landscapes, beaches and monuments aren't going anywhere. They will still be there waiting for a better time to be lived. And we must do the same for a while. It's time to stop. The perfect time not to visit anything. Sometimes to rise is to stand still. It's time to stop. Stop and think of ourselves. Think of everyone else too. It's time to stop and refocus as a whole for all. It's time to understand and respect our times. Respect one another. The faster we stop, the sooner we will bond again. It's time to dream of those amazing days to come. For when those days arrive, we will say again.
So I hope you guys have enjoyed this short video. I think one of the most important things, it's really about the moving forward. And thanks God that we're getting things under control. So, but this video gets a good perspective of what the country has to offer. And we really look forward to welcoming you in Portugal. Just a quick note for anyone that has some questions, please use the Q&A section on the Zoom so that we can also cover these questions in the end. And I'm now going to handle the presentation to Tomáš, that is going to talk to you about all the regimes and also the rules.
It's time to stop. It's time to look out for each other in the distance. Time to stare humanity in the eyes. To take a break.
Yo, Tomáš.
Thank you, everyone. Can you see my screen? Okay, good. So, hello, everyone. My name is Tomáš. I am a partner at CCA law firm. I would like to thank Mario very much for his initial presentation. My presentation will not have as beautiful images as Mario's had. I will focus more on technical aspects related with residency visas in Portugal, where we will analyze the Golden Visa program and in the D7 program. Then we will very quickly go through a regime that's very well known, which is a non-habitual resident regime, which offers several tax benefits to whoever establishes tax residency in Portugal. And then we will quickly explain the procedure on how to purchase a property in Portugal. Just 1 second. So starting with the Golden Visa program. It's a well-known program, but it's basically a program that allows an applicant that carries out a determined investment activity in Portugal to obtain a residency visa in Portugal. By obtaining that residency visa, the applicant will be allowed not only to live and work in Portugal, having access to healthcare, education, etc., but also to travel freely through the Schengen area. There are several ways of individuals or applicants to obtain this golden visa, being currently the most effective in common ones, the acquisition of real estate in the amount of 500,000 euros, the acquisition of real estate in the amount of 350,000 euros for properties that are either 30 years old or located in urban refurbishment areas, the transfer of capital in the amount of 1 million euros, and also nowadays a more and more common solution for people that, taking into account the issues of the pandemic, cannot come to Portugal to see properties, is the transfer of capital in the amount of 350,000 euros to invest in participation units within regulated funds in Portugal. There are effectively other ways to obtain the golden visa, which are evidenced here, but they have not been so explored by the investors because probably they feel that they are not so attractive, and at the end some of them are basically an investment that is lost, whereas when you compare it with the investment in real estate or the investment in a fund, the capital is generally recovered at the end of the golden visa process. It's important to say that with one investment, the investor is allowed, within the golden visa, the investment is allowed for family reunification. What does this mean? This means that the investor, by applying, is allowed to bring his wife or his partner, minor children, parents or in-laws, minor siblings that are under investor's supervision or dependency, in children older than 18 that are studying and that are still dependent. It's very important, this issue of children. Often clients ask us this question, which is the fact that if they are older, can they still apply if they're older than 18? Yes, they can, but they will need to be studying. It's very important that they are studying and that they are still dependent from their parents. Very quickly, the golden visa process is more or less a straightforward process, which starts, well, first of all, the investment needs to be completed. Then the process starts, once the investment is completed, there is an online submission of the application. This online submission then leads to a pre-analysis and then a pre-approval for the applicant made by the immigration office. Once that pre-approval is reached, the applicant will be allowed to come to Portugal to do the collection of the biometrical data, which is basically a fancy name to say that the investor will have to come to Portugal and take a picture, sign a document, and do a fingerprint in one of the immigration office delegation. Then following the biometrics, there is a further analysis of the process by the immigration office, which takes around 4, 5, 6 months to be approved. And then after approval, the process is completed. The cards, the golden visa is actually a card, a very normal card. So it's not a golden card or a fancy thing that you'll have in your wallet. It's a perfectly normal card. Generally, your lawyers gather those cards with the immigration office and send them to the applicant by DHL, and then the process is initially completed. It's very important to understand that every single date that the investor needs to take care or to look at is the date of the issuance of the card and not of the performance of the investment. So once the card is issued, the golden visa will have a 2-year validity, after which it will have to be renewed once after 2 years, and then renewed again after 2 years, which makes the golden visa valid for 6 years. It's also very important to say, and this is a very competitive feature of the golden visa when compared to other similar programs, is the fact that the golden visa has very low stay requirements. You can either spend 7 days a year during the 5 years of the program, or alternatively, you can spend 14 days every 2 years. This is a quick analysis of the costs of the application. These costs are per applicant. So if you, main applicant plus spouse plus children, each of them will have to pay these amounts. You have an initial amount, which is the analysis of the application. Then once the cards are effectively issued, there's this amount of 5,325 that will have to be paid. And then on first and second renewals, as I said before, this amount will also, these two amounts will also be due per applicant. Bear in mind that these are the amounts that are applicable as of today. These may change in the future. Another very important point to add in relation to the golden visa is the very well-known and, in my view, unfortunate changes to the regime that will enter into force in 2022. Basically, the objective of the government was, on the one hand, to increase the minimum investment thresholds, which meant that instead of investing 1 million in a deposit, you have to invest 1.5 million. Instead of investing 350,000 in an investment fund, you will have to invest 500,000. And also in real estate, very importantly, there is a reduction of the number of locations where the golden visa will be eligible. So in basic terms, the investment thresholds or amounts were not changed, but there was a severe reduction in territories that may be eligible for golden visa. Basically, Lisbon and Porto are out of the picture for now. So basically, you'll have to go to the interior areas or low density areas, and also to the autonomous regions of the Azores and Madeira, which are the two islands that Portugal has. Another very important point, which is the possibility to apply for Portuguese nationality or permanent residency, depending on what clients want. It's very important to understand that the Portuguese golden visa is a residency by investment program and not a citizenship by investment program. And the requests for nationality are governed by the nationality law. And what the law says is that whoever has a valid visa for 5 years is entitled to apply for Portuguese citizenship, as long as the applicant complies with several other requirements, which are basically speaking the A2 level of Portuguese, having a clean criminal record, not being involved in financing of terrorism and other similar activities. So in that case, after having a visa for 5 years, every applicant will be eligible for the application for citizenship. Some other applicants prefer to apply for permanent residencies, and there are two. One that implies the renewal of the golden visa, which also implies the maintenance of all the investment requirements that are to be kept within the golden visa. And the other one is to apply for the normal PR, permanent residency, which allows the investor to dispose or sell of all the investments that he has, but implies a 6-month stay period in Portugal. Then another very interesting visa program that is not so well known is the D7 visa, which is commonly referred to as a passive income visa. Basically, whoever has certain sources of income generated in the countries of residency will be allowed to apply for the D7 visa. One could ask why would the D7 visa, why does the D7 visa has less success than the golden visa? And the answer for that question is basically the fact that not all applicants can comply with the minimum stay requirement that the D7 implies, which is 6 months every year. Basically, who can apply? Retired people, people that hold real estate or intellectual property income, and holders of financial investment income, such as proceeds of shares, etc., etc. The law does not define any minimum amount. Generally, we suggest our client to have or to prove means of at least 1,000 per month. But basically, the higher the amount you have, the easier will be to obtain the visa. And then we pass to the non-habitual resident regime. Bear in mind that the two programs that we were speaking of, Golden Visa and D7, are residency visas. The non-habitual resident regime is a tax regime related with tax residency that may be combined with both the D7 and the non-habitual and the Golden Visa. So basically, for you to be eligible for the non-habitual resident, you'll have to become a tax resident in Portugal. You cannot have been a tax resident in Portugal for the period of 5 years before applying to the non-habitual resident. And you will have to register yourself as a tax resident in Portugal until the 31st of March of the year following the one you want to become a tax resident in Portugal. Basically in here, regarding the Golden Visa, I'll quickly go to the features of the program. Basically, for pensions, there is a flat fee of 10% on pensions arising out from the private sector. On salaries earned in Portugal, there is a fixed fee of 20%, regardless of the amount of the salary. And then there are other exemptions related with foreign sourced incomes, such as dividends, income generated by properties, all of them foreign sourced, that will be fully exempt in Portugal as long as they can be taxed in the country of origin. And then to quickly finalize, I will go through very quickly the process on how to buy a property in Portugal. It's not that it's a very complex process or that it's different anywhere else in the world, but there are some specifications that one needs to take into account when buying a property. And it's always advisable, although not mandatory, to seek independent counseling within that acquisition, namely to hire a lawyer. So there are generally 6 steps within the purchase process. First of all is a normal offer and having an offer accepted. The second one is the reservation agreement. After that, it's advisable that the due diligence is carried out on the property. Then generally a promissory contract of purchase and sale is signed. Once that contract is completed, there is a public deed of purchase and sale, and then final step is the registration of the property on behalf of the purchaser. In this slide, we have a quick summary of what entails each step that we spoke above, not considering the part of the offer. So basically, we have the reservation agreement, which is an agreement signed. It's a preliminary agreement signed between the seller and the purchaser, which allows the purchaser to take the property out of the market and gives the purchaser some time to do an analysis of the property, which will be completed in step 2, which is the due diligence. Generally, this reservation agreement implies that the potential purchaser pays what we generally or commonly define as a reservation fee, which is sometimes 5,000, sometimes 10,000. However, that reservation fee is generally refundable in case the due diligence report is unsatisfactory to the client. So basically, after having the property reserved, a due diligence should be carried out. I stress it's not mandatory, but it should be carried out because sometimes properties have problems with licensing, problems with liens and encumbrances, several things that generally are picked. And as lawyers, we find many things in properties that clients are not aware of, and sometimes real estate agents are not aware of as well. And the fact that you carry out a due diligence is sometimes essential to make a dream move or a dream purchase not to become a nightmare. So once the due diligence is conducted and everything is okay, generally you start by signing a promissory contract of purchase and sale, which is a contract regulated by the Portuguese Civil Code that establishes the main terms and conditions for the deal. It's not mandatory to sign the promissory contract of purchase and sale, as you can go directly to step 4, but let's imagine that clients do not have the cash in hand immediately, or they want to wait a bit more and to pay a down payment and then pay the remainder of the price later. So this is why you basically sign a promissory contract of purchase and sale. Also very important is that this contract also has several representations and warranties that basically bring liability to the seller in case of non-compliance with the same. Once all of this is done, then we move to the public deed of purchase and sale, which in Portugal is signed before a public notary. And this is the final step for the completion of the process. And this is the actual process that makes a purchaser become an owner of a property. Once that process is completed, then the notary itself complies with step 5 of the process, which is the registration of the acquisition on behalf of the purchaser. And this registration is inscribed in a public registry, and everyone can check who is the owner of the property. So basically, once the process is completed, the investor or the applicant will be the owner of a property free from liens and encumbrances and other liabilities. Then taxes. So very quickly, we have 2 one-off taxes that are paid with the purchase of a property. One is called the IMT, we generally referred in English as property tax, which is 6.5 levied on the price of the property. Then you have a very particular thing in the Portuguese legislation, which is the stamp duty or imposto do selo, which is 0.8 levied on over the price of the property, 0.8%. Then you have notary fees that, depending on the notary, may range between 500 and 1,000 euros. Registration fees, which are approximately 250 euros. And then you have the municipal property tax, which is the IMI, which is basically corresponds to a council tax that is paid on a yearly basis. The rates vary from municipality to municipality, but these are the ones approximate. These are the approximate ones. And they are levied on the tax value of the property, not on the price. So generally, the tax value of the property is much lower than the actual price of the property. So the IMI is actually a tax that is depending on the tax value of the property, obviously, but not a tax that is very looked with very seriousness with our clients, because it's generally cheaper than what clients pay in their countries of origin. And then I would pass on to Sal. Thank you very much. And again, as Mario said, any questions that you have, please address them on the Q&A.
Just confirm that you're listening.
Hi, everybody. I'm really happy to be with you today, and really happy to have you all here with us. I'm Sally Ann, and I work with Portugal Sothebys. We are one of the major real estate agents in Portugal, and we have a huge range of properties, from villas to apartments to new developments, and we have 10 offices across the country. So whether you're looking in Porto or Lisbon or the Algarve or even Madeira, we've got you covered. Sorry, just changing the slide here. We create bespoke solutions for our clients. So we'll work with you directly to match your dream lifestyle and your dream property. And we'll just be one point of contact for you. So the whole process is seamless and very easy. Buying a home is really personal, and everyone is going to have their own motivation. So whether you're watching because you're looking for a holiday home, or maybe you're relocating or retiring, or even simply investing, whichever one it is going to influence the kind of property that you choose. So one of the things that's really, really important is to consider what's important to yourself. A key element is lifestyle. Portugal is a very diverse country, as you saw from Mario and from the video. And there are all different kinds of lifestyle. So whatever the reason that you're buying a property in Portugal, the lifestyle element is very important as far as where you decide to buy. And obviously you can also combine these. But the beach is fabulous, as we know. You may choose to be in the countryside. There's wonderful vineyards. You could be looking for an estate or a home to refurbish that's completely peaceful. You might be looking for city buzz, or perhaps it's golf that's attracting you. One thing that's important wherever you decide is community. You need to think about what sort of community you would like to have around you, whether you're looking for an expat kind of lifestyle, or whether you're looking for local Portuguese experience. It's not just a house, it's genuinely, it's a lifestyle. And yes, I love watching this program as well. Location, location, location. It really is all about location. And whether it's things like considerations about walking, or whether you are happy to drive to the shops and amenities, and if you are, how far? Do you want to be in the centre of the buzz, or do you want to have tranquility? And if you want tranquility, how much tranquility do you want? Some people prefer to be very isolated, or have a feeling of isolation, but actually be quite, not too far a drive to feel some buzz and just have some people around. The distance to the beach or the airport could be important, especially if you're thinking about, doing long weekends, if it's a holiday home, or being able to commute if you're relocating, but you're going to need to travel. Then the distance to the airport will also be important. Privacy. So how close are you happy for the neighbours to be? Another thing to think about is the ability to rent. So once again, if it's going to be either a holiday home or it's going to be an investment, for example, then you would need to make sure that the property that you choose is also going to be attractive to other people, so that you're able to rent it easily, either when you're not using it yourself for your holidays, or if it's an investment, to make sure that you won't have long periods where it's unoccupied, so that you can really maximize your investment. Something that a lot of people don't consider, if you're buying in a condominium or you're buying an apartment, things like, do they allow pets? And that may be whether you have your own pet, or it may be maybe you don't like animals and you don't want other people's pets around in the condominium. So that's something else to think about as a question to ask. And monthly costs would be important in that kind of environment. Something else that's interesting is that many places in Portugal that may be specifically holiday kind of locations, when it's off season, they can go very, very quiet. Sometimes the restaurants close during the winter, for example, or sometimes there are facilities that may not be open that are open during the summer or Easter season, for example. There are other environments And you can combine both, of course, but there are other towns and cities, of course, which are all year round. And finally, schools. If you have children and you're relocating, then you'd need to be close to an international school. Now about the property itself. This is always the fun part. Are you looking for an apartment? You're looking for a villa? Do you like traditional style? There's some beautiful traditional Portuguese architecture. Or are you looking for something more contemporary? Portugal has everything, of course. Also, are you looking for something that's ready to move into? Or are you happy to do some refurbishment? And if you are happy to do refurbishment, what kind of refurbishment? How significant are you prepared to do? And finally on this, as far as features, to think about what features within a property are important to you to have. For example, I have a client who is a musician and he needs to have a not recording studio, but an area to be quiet where he can focus on his music, but also if he starts to play it, where it's not going to disturb the rest of the family. So he needed a good solid basement. And also another thing, obviously, especially during what we've all experienced in lockdown, is do you want to work from home? So would you want to have an area of your property which you can use as an office? Finally, about the property part, is timing to buy. The Portuguese market is very dynamic, and you can start looking for your ideal property probably about 6 months before. But that's more a sort of like a market research to see what's available and what you can get for your budget. But the real time to start looking properly when you're actually ready to buy is about 1 month before, possibly 2, just to be able to make sure that the property that you actually want is going to be available and is going to be there. Flexibility. I love this image. What do you want versus what do you need, and what is an absolute must-have? How flexible are you prepared to be? What could you ditch if you see that you've found your beautiful ideal home, but maybe it doesn't have something that you really wanted, or maybe that's something that actually, because everything else matches, that you can compromise on and be prepared to ditch it. Your budget. How flexible is your budget? What's your maximum, and how close can you get to it if you needed to? And also, Portugal has really good interest rates for loans. Possibly you may discover that if you borrow just a small amount, it can get you up to that next level, which will enable you to get to the kind of property that you would want to have if you weren't quite there yet. It's always it's an option that you may like to consider. Meet your future home. I wanted to show you some fantastic homes that meet different kinds of lifestyle that you can have in Portugal. Just some examples where you can just get a sense of what's possible. We kick off with the beach. Whether you want to just kick off your shoes and relax in the sand, or whether you want to try your hand at surfing. We have gorgeous properties that are around and close to the beaches. This one is in the marina at Albufeira. So walking distance to the marina, straight to the beach. It's a beautiful contemporary property with a pool and a very contemporary design inside, and beautiful views across the marina and the water. This property is traditional style. This one is close to Lagos. It's got a lovely countryside feel, but is actually about 5 minutes drive and you're straight into the centre of Lagos with all its nightlife and restaurants and shops. This one is a 5-bedroom and is on at just over $1 million. Now, it might be that golf is what's attracted you, but it doesn't matter. Whatever your handicap, we've got a beautiful golf property for you. And this one is a traditional style property. I've already got the little golf buggy in the carport. But this one is on the outskirts. This is in Cascais. in Peñalonga, which is one of the very famous golf courses that surrounds near the Lisbon area. This one is on at 1.2 and has 5 bedrooms. And this property is in the Algarve, in Vila Moura, which has 17 golf courses, so you'd be completely spoilt for choice. This property is absolutely stunning. It looks onto the golf course from all aspects, even the bedroom. So you can have wonderful views from the bedroom of the golf course and dream about where you're going to play next. This one is on at 1.65 million and is a 4-bedroom, again, a beautiful contemporary style. And the countryside. I love the Portuguese countryside. The vineyards, the olive trees, and lavender, it's absolutely stunning. And just wanted to show you a couple of beautiful properties which are in the middle of the countryside. This one is actually not far from Lisbon. It's on the outskirts and is in Sobral de Montegraço. It's a beautiful farmhouse, has its own pool and views across vineyards from every single room. This one is on at 890. It has 5 bedrooms and is just absolutely beautiful. Here's another one. This has also got gorgeous countryside views. This one's in the Algarve. It's a completely contemporary property. It's single story and again has panoramic views across the countryside from all the different rooms. It has an infinity pool, as you can see. It's really beautiful. It has 4 bedrooms and the price of this one is 1.1 million. And for something completely different, city lifestyle. This property is in Lisbon. You can see it's in one of the beautiful traditional buildings, but it's been completely renovated inside. So it has contemporary inside, but retaining a lot of the individual historic features like the beamed ceiling and the old fireplaces. This one is a 3-bedroom townhouse. It's on at 695. And then on to Porto. This is a gorgeous apartment. It's a 2-bedroom apartment with absolutely stunning views across the Douro River. And again, from all the different views, you can have a look at the lounge and living space. Again, just gorgeous floor-to-ceiling windows, loads and loads of natural light. And this one is literally right, almost right in the centre of Porto. Probably just about 10 minutes to right the middle of all the shops and boutiques and everything that Porto has to offer. And that's it. Hopefully that's kind of whetted your appetite and hopefully I've also answered some questions. And I really hope that you've enjoyed hearing about what Portugal has to offer. And the whole team is looking forward to supporting any of you who have decided to embrace this journey. And we're here to support. We can now answer any questions. If you've had a look at the Q&A's tab, you'll see that you'll be able to ask. You can ask some questions that we can answer while we're on this. And anything that we can't, we can also be contacted afterwards. We're happy to help with any thoughts and questions that you have.